So, before we go into building the timber frame for the cabin, I would like to take you back to another little build that was sort of my first timber framing build, even though it was just a little stool. So the whole story leading up to this was that I was still in the first year of my woodworking and YouTube adventure. I saw another woodworker from Australia announcing a little competition that he called rubbish wood. Basically find some really rubbish wood. I can do that. Something that would have no other destination than the rubbish bin or the fire stove, and build something from it. Put it on YouTube and some judges would take a look at it and announce some winners. Easy. So my thought process, or just process going into this was, I have rubbish wood, check. I do sort of woodworking, check. I also film and upload to YouTube, check. What I didn't do at this point was talk to the camera or talk at all in my videos. So how do you tell a story without any words? That was the real challenge that I put myself up to with this little project. Storytelling without words. Looking back at it now, let me try to explain some things that people might or might not notice, and also let's have a good laugh. I found an old scaffold walking board that was in pretty bad shape, to say the least. It should have been trashed a long time ago because it was way too dangerous to walk on. But I decided that was a good starting point for a video, having a piece of wood that was very close to end its life cycle as wood. My plan was to clean it up off camera, but then I saw all those lovely snails having a party on the wood, so I decided to film when I relocated the inhabitants to other parts of nature. That's not exactly the cycle of life, but at least taking care of other living creatures. And this wood gets a second life. This scaffold platform is held together with some threaded metal rods, and very optimistically I gave the bolts some WD-40, but that was a bit optimistic. You can see why. Some outdoor and then also some indoor cleaning of these pretty rotten rafters, and then I ran them through the thickness planer, discovering there actually was some solid wood parts in these rafters. So far, the storytelling has been pretty straightforward in this build. Find wood, check. Save inhabitants, check. Clean wood, check. But at this point I started to think about the ending of this little video, and I tried to incorporate some elements I would use later. I had gotten my first request for a sticker swap, so I had an envelope all the way from down under in Australia. I was also cutting down the rafters on my miter saw, and I recorded all the rotten offcuts going into the bin because I had a feeling that I would need those a little later. The next part of the build is a basic glue up. I add ordinary wood glue to the sides of the rafters and clamp them together. For the clamping part, I'm using some homemade pipe clamps. This is the absolute cheapest way to get a glue-up clamping set. The clamping part is very cheap in most big box stores, and you just screw them on a water pipe in whatever length that you want. The glue dries overnight, and I started to think about how to make the so-called bum groove in the seat. There are hand tools to do the job, but I had another idea, which I didn't see Jackman Works do first. I'm pretty sure he watched me do it first. Okay, so it's way easier to just show it than to try to explain it. So far, I have taken a building material that was, let's just say, less than ideal, cut away the most rotten parts, glued the remaining parts together, and formed a seat that is pretty solid and bum-friendly. And yes, wood glue joints are very strong. This seat will hold even the biggest of bombs, and I'm not thinking about anything in particular here. Now heading into the legs build, I had this idea to build the base without screws and nails. I had success using my new little palm router here to make the bomb groove, so I thought, hey, let's try to make some joinery with the router too. If you have watched this video so far, and I trust you didn't skip any chapters, you know that I like Sorry, that was my daughter starting to laugh in the middle of my voiceover. If you have watched this far in this video, and I trust you didn't skip any chapters, you know that I like to burn sweet wood that is meant to be outdoors. And this little stool is no different. I decided to change location to the woods for the sanding, not really sure why, but perhaps to mark the change to a more spiritual part of the build and to illustrate a deep connection with nature that may or may not be there. And of course, she did it again. And of course, sanding outdoors requires less dust protection. Give me a rating for connecting all the ends here. I took the offcuts from the stool and put them on the bonfire. Then I used the envelope from a friend in Australia to light the offcuts on fire. I had some beeswax and I borrowed my daughter's cast iron pot and melted it directly on the embers of the offcuts. I then finished the burnt stool with the hot beeswax, in which I mixed some linseed oil. This is my own natural wood finish mix, and using the offcuts to heat it and apply it to the remains of the wooden trestle creates a cycle of creation and transformation, at least in my head. It reminds me of a line from one of my favorite TV series, where the main character keeps saying, "Everything is connected." And honestly, the more I think about interconnectedness, nature, recycling and relationships, the more I realize how true this is. Everything is connected.